Welcome back to the J&D Sports Show. I'm your host, Josh Velasquez.
And I'm Dylan Davis.
And so today's show, we're going to pretty much keep it simple. We're going to stick strictly with the NFL draft and all of who we think's going well, any big surprises, any, things that outlandish things that we're going to, think will happen, and big trades, and we will have another mock draft before Thursday, right before the NFL draft at Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern. So, I know you do not think Kyler will be taking number one. I think that Arizona will take Kyler number one. I feel like you wouldn't hire a new coach, do all of this and not take a new quarterback. I feel like they will take Kyler Murray, then trade Josh Rosen, and hopefully get some good assets with him.
Yeah, the only reason, I have Nick Bosa going number one, and because, Nick Bosa, even if Kyler Murray was selected first, Nick Bosa would be right behind him. But I have Nick Bosa at number one because I think that the Cardinals would try to give Josh Rosen another year because I don't think he was fairly evaluated this year after being behind a very unproductive offensive line. And also, he really didn't have a whole lot of weapons. Sure, he's got Larry Fitzgerald and David Johnson, but, besides them, I don't really know how much he really has on offense to help him out. So, maybe they will spend some time, in the off season, which they already have. But even in the draft this year, maybe they can find him a couple more weapons or something they can use.
I understand where you're coming from. I just feel like they just would rather start fresh, start with a new QB. They're able to trade Josh Rosen still because the team would able to be willing to give him one, because since there wasn't as much film on him, he's pretty much a rookie again. Because he didn't have a ton of weapons, so most people will count this last season as a scratch. And I feel like a team will gamble and will trade up. I feel like they will want a first round pick, but I can see a team in the back 15 trading up. And then I feel like they probably will get like a third round pick as well, or a top second round pick. But I feel like Kyler Murray is still going to go number one. Obviously, Bosa, in my opinion, is the number one player in this draft. I don't think Kyler Murray is going to be a good QB in the NFL. That's just me. I don't think a lot of these QBs are going to be as successful as people are thinking, but that's just my opinion. But I feel like Nick Bosa is the best player in the NFL draft this year, but I just feel like the 49ers are in the best spot because Arizona will pick Kyler Murray, and then Bosa will be able to be right there from the grab. So, kind of both. The 49ers kind of have the first pick because it's going to be up to them. But I tell you what, if Arizona does not pick Kyler Murray, man, that is going to change this draft in so many different ways. Because then you're going to have who's the 49ers going to draft, and if they draft this, it's just going to be a domino effect for everyone in the first round.
Yeah, absolutely. If it really, like you said, it all comes down to Kyler Murray and where he goes. Because, if Kyler Murray's not selected first, then you're going to hear a lot of phones ringing and people trying to trade up. I know that the Jets have been looking to trade back, so that could always be a solution for somebody to try to trade up to 3. I don't think the 49ers would give that up, obviously, because,
they want Bosa.
If they don't, if the Cardinals drafted Nick Bosa, then the 49ers are in prime position to get somebody like Josh Allen or Quinnen Williams, even Devin White. One of those top-tier defensive players, but the Jets have been looking to drop back a little bit. I don't know how far back they'd go, but I know they've been willing to do that. And you could ultimately see excuse me, if Kyler doesn't go number 1, you could always see the Giants trade up a couple spots to number 3. If they wanted to get, whether it be Kyler Murray, which, personally, I don't think the Giants would draft Kyler Murray only because he doesn't fit their system. And that's another thing that you have to take into account, too, when you're drafting a quarterback. The 49ers would fit Kyler Murray. Well, I guess Kyler Murray would fit the 49ers because they run, or at least they're going to run it with Cliff Kingsbury, a college-styled offense. So that would kind of help emphasize your point of Kyler Murray going there because he.
You mean Arizona, not the 49ers.
Or yeah, did I say the 49ers?
Yes, you did.
Oh wow.
Speaking of system, that's why I believe that Daniel Jones from Duke will go to the Giants. I feel like he fits them the best. Do you have any big statements, any bold predictions for the draft of what like any big trades that you see happening that's no one's really has, or a team picking a player that no one thinks, a bold prediction?
Well, I guess I have 2. One of them is just kind of one of those ones where, both you and I agree that a lot of these quarterbacks this year I don't think are going to pan out like people think. And I do think one of them is Kyler Murray. He's been praised a lot being the first overall pick, but, in my mock draft, I personally have him slipping to 8 just because I think the defensive talent is a lot better than the offense, but especially of the quarterbacks. And I have just one trade in my mock draft of Miami trading up to select Kyler Murray at number 8 and having Detroit trade back to 13. And the reason why I have Detroit trading back is because even if they fall to 13, they can still grab the offensive guard Cody Ford because he's not really going to be a top 10 pick. And he's probably the best guard in this draft, which the Lions lost T.J. Lang to retirement. He was one of their guards and helped them on their offensive line, so maybe try to replace him there. But a really bold pick I have. I guess I have 2. One of them would be the Giants at number 6 getting Clelin Ferrell out of Clemson. He's been overlooked. I know a lot of mock drafts have him in the 10 through 17th pick, but Ferrell is just he's more of a 4-3 guy, so that's why he doesn't really fit the Giants scheme. But I think he's a really good edge rusher, and I think they could use him kind of like they did with Olivier Vernon on the outside, playing the end position. And just the Giants really just desperately need a pass rusher because they were not very good last season. And the only other one I have that many people don't have either is at number 10. I have the Broncos selecting Byron Murphy. He's a corner out of Washington. A lot of people have Greedy Williams as the best corner in this draft, being selected as the first corner in the draft. But I think Byron Murphy is an all-around better corner than Greedy Williams, only because he can tackle. Greedy Williams kind of struggles with tackling, but Byron Murphy can also play the ball. So I think he's an all-around better corner, and I think he will surprise people in the NFL. And, it's pretty shocking to have a corner at number 10, but I think that the Broncos kind of need one. I mean, they haven't really had a great defensive back group since, when they had Talib and they had a couple other guys in the mix there as well when they had some Pro Bowl corners. So, but besides that, I mean, everything's pretty straightforward. I do have Dwayne Haskins falling to 17 because...
No, speaking of Dwayne Haskins, that brings up my bold prediction. My bold prediction is that Oakland at number 4 is going to draft Dwayne Haskins. I just feel like Gruden's not 100% sold on Carr, and everyone knows that Gruden is a QB guy. He loves his QBs. He loves his offense. And he just got Antonio Brown. I feel like they would love to get a young QB so he can have Brown. And I just feel like they're going to go quarterback, trade Carr. A team would take Carr. So I feel like that right now, I feel like no one's going to trade Rosen because I feel like they might wait to see what happens in the top 10 picks, and I feel like they're going to be hoping that teams are going to be calling Arizona looking to trade for Josh Rosen, and then after the 4th pick, teams are going to slowly start calling Oakland for Carr, and Carr's going to be the number 1 hit instead of Rosen. So I feel like, I don't know why, I just feel like Haskins is going to go to number 1. He's just going to drop down. I feel like they're going to get to number 4.
Yeah, well, just real quick, I heard something today that I think there was a report that Oakland was going to make an interesting move at 4, and they were going to shock some people with what they were looking to do. So that could very well be, if they pulled a move like that, I mean, that would shock me for sure, because you would think that Carr would be your guy, but, if that happened and they drafted a guy like Haskins, I mean, it would make sense for sure because Haskins is a very smart quarterback, and like you said, having a young QB in there with a young wide receiver. Well, he's still youngish, Antonio Brown, but just a different outlook on the offense, I guess. But I could see that happening, especially after that report where they said that they could do something interesting.
And another one, it's not really a bold prediction, but I feel like it's kind of a surprise. I feel like Dexter Lawrence from Clemson is going to fall through the draft, and of course is going to fall to 32 to the Patriots.
Yeah, I have him going 29th in mine.
I have him going to the Patriots in mine, but I just feel like, I don't know. I just feel like it's the Patriots. They always get that lucky, and I feel like he's gonna be there for them to take. But it's gonna be interesting, not just the first night, but the first 2 nights is gonna be so interesting because I feel like you have some teams like you have the 49ers. I'm pretty sure everybody that has Kyler Murray going number 1 has Bosa going number 2. So the first 2 picks are going to be pretty obvious. So the Jets, though, that's going to be when it starts to get interesting. I would say the most interesting picks, from my opinion, is the 4th pick, is 4 through 6. When you have the Raiders, Tampa, and the Giants drafting, I feel like those are going to be the most interesting things because each one of those have a team they could arguably draft a QB because not many people are sold on Winston. You have Eli Manning and the Giants who desperately need a new quarterback because they're terrible anyways. So they might as well draft a QB to help, sit behind Eli for a year so he's ready to go. And you have Oakland, who knows what Oakland's going to be doing. I mean, you had Gruden and Mayock sending all the scouts home, which I feel like people are making a bigger deal than it is because, in my opinion, they are just scouts. Their job was done. They're most likely going to be fired. So they don't really need to stay and they'll leak information. I mean, like if I had you scout this player and you had all the information there, I don't need you because you already gave me the information. There's no need for you to be there. You're just going to be taking up space.
Yeah, and I mean, a majority of the scouting is done anyways. I mean, they still have some more to do. I mean, even after the draft, they'll still have a little bit more because you get the undrafted guys that they scout.
But those those players are already scouted.
Yeah.
So, I feel like it's not really that big of a deal. And I feel like those guys are going to be fired, and they probably already have the guys that they're going to be replacing coming up. But I wouldn't be surprised if you see all the scouts get traded. Speaking of that report, another shocking thing, I wouldn't be surprised if they trade that pick away.
Which one, 4?
The 4th.
It could very well. I mean, they still have, after that, they have 2 other first-round picks there. So, a team like, someone like Miami or, anybody who's looking to trade up, especially to grab, a quarterback. I mean, like if Kyler Murray were to fall to 4, I mean, maybe somebody would be willing to trade up and grab him. I mean,
or does Oakland, if Kyler happens to fall, would Oakland draft him?
They very well could. I mean, I don't really exactly know their scheme, or if they're going to change it at all. But that's the only thing that's hard is, there's some players that are really good in this draft, both sides of the ball, offense, defense. Sometimes you wonder, if they don't fit your scheme, would you be willing to draft that guy and either develop him in your scheme or completely change your scheme to fit him? Would you pay that price to get a guy like that? You know what I mean? Or would you rather draft a guy who is already kind of adapted to your style of scheme?
That's what's hard about QBs. Like defense, offensive linemen, they're easy to plug in anywhere pretty much. Wide receivers, same thing. Cornerbacks, same kind of, not all the way. But defenders, it's iffy too because you have some defenders who aren't good at the 4-3. Who are good at the 4-3 but not good at the 5-3.
Yep. And even certain corners, some of them might play outside more than inside, or nickel and things like that. And
or they can only shadow the left side of the field.
Yeah. So if you're bringing a guy in who is used to playing nickel, and you draft him expecting him to play outside, then it's kind of like, it's going to be a fresh start for them, versus drafting them into a role they're used to. So if a team is looking for a nickel corner and they draft him, and he's played nickel in college, that I think that's more beneficial. I've even seen teams, they draft, they might draft a tackle, and they'll put him inside a guard. Or they might draft a guard and kick him outside to tackle if he's a little more athletic. And even I sometimes disagree with that because, it's just not, I just don't think it's right, because then if it doesn't work, if I drafted a tackle and I put him at guard and he played terrible, and then people are like, boy, he's an awful guard. It's like, well, you drafted him as a tackle, so why didn't you use him as a tackle? You know what I mean? I've seen teams do that before, and I've seen that result, and that kind of blows my mind when they wonder, well, gee, why didn't it work? It's like, well, you could have drafted a guard, put him at guard instead of trying to switch a guy's position,
Yeah, no, exactly.
I just don't think that works. Sometimes it does, but
I don't know about
really
you.
More often than not, it doesn't.
I feel like this is one of the more interesting drafts in a while.
Oh, yeah. This is the first draft that I've really, really paid attention to.
Well, not just that. It's like last year, like a lot of the top 3, the top 5 picks, everyone knows what's gonna be one of these two players, but no one knows.
Mm-hmm.
Usually this time of the year, last year, everyone knew Baker was going number 1.
Yeah, and if not that, they knew at least Saquon was going 2.
And everyone knew what was gonna be happening, and then.
And if you didn't know who they were going to, you at least knew who was going to be in the top 5.
Yeah.
Even this year, it's like, sure, you got Kyler and Bosa, but after that, it's like, well, gee, is it going to be Josh Allen or Quentin Williams?
Everyone knows that Bosa, Murray, and Josh Allen will pretty much be in the top.
Yeah.
Top 5.
But even, could Montez Sweat be drafted early? You know what I mean?
I feel like most teams are going to back off on Montez Sweat. The injuries, sadly. I feel like he'd still be a first-round pick. I just feel like he was just drop out of the top 5 because it's just too much of a gamble.
Oh yeah, we're going to see that too. There's going to be a lot of guys that drop that'll surprise. It'll be like, wow, I thought he was, even a top 10 pick, and he ends up dropping, how many spots. Look at last year, Derwin James dropped all the way to 17.
Yeah.
But even last year, though, I didn't know half the guys.
In my opinion, will you have the Chiefs, will you have Chicago, will you have Dallas trade up into the first round?
They possibly could with Oakland.
Yeah, as I'm saying, anything could happen. If there's a player that they see right there, who knows what one of those 3 teams could do?
They could even trade up with Green Bay at the at the 30th spot.
Yeah, who knows?
Just to grab someone just a little extra,
Because think about, especially with both Chicago, Dallas, and Chiefs. just looking, I mean, if you think about it, Chiefs just traded the 29th pick. Dallas would have had their 27th pick, and Oakland would have had the 24th pick. So in the second round pick, Oakland would have the 450th pick?
Oh, in the second round?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd probably be somewhere
55th pick. The 55th pick. Dallas would have the 58th pick. So, those would be the first picks in the draft. If they see a player on the top that they really, really want, who knows, they could trade, those a second and a third round for a player.
Yeah, that's a tough position to be in. You wait and see, 58 players come off the board, and you haven't even had a chance to select anyone yet, But one of the good things about this draft, too, is there's a lot of depth in the later, second, third, fourth round. So there's going to be a lot of guys, we've seen in other drafts where it's been kind of thin,
because DeMarcus Lawrence came from the second round, so who knows what could happen.
Oh, yeah, Drew Brees was in the second round. He was a good quarterback out of Purdue. And
Jalen Smith was in the second round. So do you have someone who's going to be really good who has been injured? Montez Sweat, maybe?
Landon Collins, second round.
Montez Sweat could drop to the second round. And people could still pass on it because they don't want to risk their injuries. In Chicago,
and you just hope and pray that nothing happens on draft day. Like last year, a Josh Allen situation. When somebody's just trying to get one of these kids.
No, I don't feel like that stuff will happen. I feel like people in the NFL that won't really affect. Old tweets don't really affect them as much as other sports will.
Yeah. But I mean, even remember we saw the video of Larry Tunsil years ago?
I feel like something like that, yeah, that will help affect someone. But I'm hoping we don't have anything like that this year.
Yeah, it's just, it's just terrible. It really is, because it's just, whether it's somebody out to get somebody or it's just a troll, just, getting entertainment out of that. I just think it's a terrible thing. These kids have...
There's already been one issue already with that, with tweets with Bosa. So Bosa's most likely going to 49ers, and Bosa had to delete a bunch of pro-Trump tweets. And he admitted saying he deleted them because he didn't want to cause any issues. And of course, that became a major story, which I think it's ridiculous. It doesn't matter what.
Oh yeah, I mean, they're still humans. They have the right to have political views and everything.
In the United States of America, if you have one political view, it shouldn't matter.
Exactly. I mean, all these players, had the right to vote in the last election. I mean, most of them are our age. I mean, well, some of them are younger, but. I mean, like I said, it's their right. They have every right to do that or use their social media to whatever of their extent. But, these kids all have an opportunity here of a lifetime. And to see somebody try to ruin that just based out of just, hatred and negativity and evilness is just... It's just outrageous. I hate every time, like the Josh Allen thing. Those tweets were from, he was in, wasn't it high school?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, come on, we've been all kids before. We've been stupid, and he was a kid. In high school. That shouldn't matter, and it really didn't. Because he still got selected where he did, but it's just the fact of tarnishing his name. Trying to tarnish somebody's name. It's something I've always despised. I really have. And it's not even just, professional athletes, but just anybody. I hate when people just try to put people down and on social media or whatever it may be. It's ridiculous. It really is.
Yes. And before we wrap up today's show, I just want to let you know that after this weekend of this draft, both Dylan and I will have the J&D Sports Show way too early predictions. So we're going to be predicting everyone's record and who's going to win the division and who's going to be in the playoffs and thus. So after this weekend, we'll be doing a way too early prediction, Super Bowl prediction, NFC, AFC champions. So stay tuned from that. But is there anything else you wanted to add before we wrap up tonight's show?
Well, I'm just going to be excited once Thursday's here and just the weekend once that gets over with. I mean, just because this whole off season has been dragged on so long with all of these, like the mock drafts and who's going where, the speculations. It's going to be nice once it's all set in stone, and then we can get an idea of, the next season, and then it'll be to the next phase, all the mini camps and stuff. But this will be really nice to have accomplished after waiting so long.
Yes.
I feel like it's been dragging so long. It's going to be nice to just see where everybody, and I'm excited for everybody, honestly. All these players, I'm excited for where they go. It's going to be really fun to see.
Yes. It's going to be stinks that the first round, as a Dallas fan, I don't just see Dallas pick anyone, but second.
But you never know.
Yeah, exactly.
They might sneak in there.
You never know. With Jerry Jones, who knows what would happen.
Exactly.
But once again, I'm Joshua Velasquez.
I'm Dylan Davis.
And this is the J&D Sports Show.